Alright, frontal blessings. We are back with another video. Alright, before I begin, a couple quick announcements. First and foremost, you can still book a couple more weeks for the 2024 yearly forecast readings if you want to book one of those. Go ahead and shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please put in the subject, in the title box of your email, yearly forecast reading, so I clearly see it, only because I'm trying to make sure I get all those scheduled. I'll be doing them roughly again until about the first or early second week in February. All right, if you're interested in any other reading, shoot me an email at that same email address, a Klipothic Demonic reading, a Santa Muerte reading, an Egyptian Oracle reading, a deity reading, shadow work reading, or maybe you're just interested in a spiritual consultation. Shoot me an email and I'll send you information on how you book a spiritual reading or a consultation. Okay, if you want to sign up for classes, the way to sign up for the classes that I do offer is to go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That's going to give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, in addition to the group ritual we do together at the end of the month. Again, when you join the Patreon page, you do get access not just from the day you join moving forward, you also get access to everything in the archives, okay? And that's gone almost 4 years plus of classes, continual ongoing classes. Everything is archived in the collection section when you're on the Patreon page. You'll see all the classes are labeled. They're in chronological order. So it's easy to access them, take them in order. And the classes outside of the group ritual work, which I have a whole categorized section of the group ritual work, there's also work and rituals involved in all the continual ongoing classes. New content is added all the time. But that's the way. If you really want to take your path of self-mastery, if you really want to set new goals for 2024, that's what this is about, right? Not talking about, I hate to use the word resolutions, but goals, right? Setting concrete goals to improve and become better than you were last year. Check it out, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify, all major podcast platforms. You can also check out the social media pages, Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9, one word, Facebook, Primordial Chaos 2 words. I also upload all the YouTube content up on the Facebook page. Also, mark your calendars, just keep a mental note for later this year, October 2024. I'm not even saying next year no more, how quick this calendar kind of flies by and turns over. Get your calendar ready. October 2024, 7th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. All right, more to come on that as we get further into the year. All right, so the direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, all of that information is in the description box of this video that you are watching right now. Also want to put out of there, I will be, probably not this week, maybe next week, I'm not sure, maybe this week, I don't think so. I will be going live and reviewing the Luciferian Sorcery book, which has been officially released by the Temple of Descending Flame and authors of the Temple of the Ascending Flame, which I am one of the authors of that book, and I've contributed some work to that book with the many other authors. So I encourage you guys to check that book out. And the book is basically rituals to you to reach your potential. If you're looking for a book with good ritual work, right, to achieve things you want to do, and self-empowering rituals, that's what that book is geared for. So I encourage you guys that may not have it yet, I know some of you do, I would encourage you guys to definitely seek out a copy of that book. All right, it's not going to be a super long video. You see the title. People always ask, and I'm going to give you more. This is my perspective. This is how I operate as a sorcerer or a magician. Everybody has their own approach to this particular topic. Curses, hexes, destructive work, dark magic, more so destructive magic. Should you have a certain approach, or should you have a certain methodology of how you should use it? Again, I want to be clear as I answer this, okay? In my opinion, each individual needs to have their own approach to this, depending on their knowledge, their understanding, and what their intent is, right? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Some people just don't give a fuck. It's what they do. They just like to do destructive magic or claim they can do it, and people pay them to do this and that, and sometimes it's for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. When you're just doing it for personal gain, greed, and there's really no cause or intent behind it, there's things you're going to have to give of yourself later that you may not be ready and willing to give. Now, I'm talking about if you're doing destructive magic and you were, harmed, or you're in danger, then you have the green light to do whatever destructive magic you want. But when you're just doing it and you really ain't got a logical reason to do it, there's something that's going to be asked of you, and it could be something you're not ready and willing to give, up until the point it could be your life. Okay? Because if you understand how that realm works, okay, nothing is free. Okay? So you can connect and contact and work with a lot of spiritual energy, but something's going to be required of you in return. Okay? And sometimes I've seen people get very old, quick, sick, crazy shit starts happening to them because they, quote unquote, opened Pandora's box and they weren't quite ready to deal with what comes along with it. So I'm talking about individuals who don't know what they're doing, working dark magic or black magic or witchcraft. And they start to open again Pandora's box, where psychologically and spiritually they're not prepared for it. So that's not something you just come into like, oh, I'm going to experiment with it, I'm just going to try it. No, you don't do that type of work until you've obtained enough of skill and knowledge to do that type of work. Okay, now listen, having said that, look, you can do whatever you want. I say that all the time. My job isn't to tell you what you should or should not do. I'm just giving you information and advice. You utilize it how you see fit, whether you agree with it, disagree with it, love, like, or hate it. That's irrelevant to me. Okay? And again, I can only speak from my experience. I have a certain code that I live by when it comes to destructive magic, working dark magic, black magic, in a destructive manner. Does it serve a purpose and a place? Most definitely. Is it part of this path? 100%. Anybody that tells you it's not, again, is full of shit. Either has an agenda or they're trying to hide something. But I do think, again, my opinion, there has to be certain factors to govern that. Okay, that's just me. Again, like, I know people that don't give a fuck. They'll just do it for the sake of doing it, and especially if they're an individual that's a spiritualist that will do it for hire, that's fine, right? It's the same thing. I'm very selective on who I would help or work with, right? Not every practitioner or spiritualist is going to take on every case, or is going to take, because it just may not be the right fit, is what I'm saying. It just may not be the right fit. So sometimes you can't just take on anything and anybody. And if you're doing it on your own, okay, you definitely want to proceed with caution. And again, make sure you've obtained a certain level of knowledge to carry out that work. Okay, that's my point. Now, in certain traditions, like a lot of African traditional religions or spiritual systems, everybody's familiar with voodoo or voodoo or palo or dark aspects of other traditional systems like that, right? You can go to a Hugan, or you can go to a Bokor or a Babalawo, or you can go to a Bolero and have work done, right? But again, you have to be careful. This is what I'm saying, especially when it comes to, say, work directly involving you. You have to be careful who lays hands on your head. I've said that many times before. Like, sometimes individuals will go to these type of people for ritual work, for cleansings. Now, I'm also talking about cleansings now. they'll go to a spiritualist because, and be careful of this game, this happens, right? You might walk into a botanica, or you might, and again, as I've said in the past over the years, they can smell fresh meat from a mile away. And if they sense that you're not knowledgeable, they'll pounce on you with shit like, oh, you need a cleansing, or you need to do this, or you need to do this ritual, or this spiritual bath, or this spiritual cleansing, or you need to do a read, right? That's the game. That's the sales pitch, right? But when you're opening yourself up to somebody spiritually, when you're letting somebody put hands on you as far as cleansing you or doing ritual work, and they're touching your crown, and they're touching your energy centers, you got to be careful about that. You just can't let anybody, this is what I mean about protecting your sacred power. You just can't let anybody do that type of work, because you don't know what you're opening yourself up to, especially if you don't really know that person. You might have a person doing that, you don't really know them like that. So why would you want somebody all opening you up like that on a spiritual level? Because you don't know what's being put or placed there, right? So you got to look at that in both ways when you're doing that type of work. You have to be careful what you open yourself up to spiritually. So when it comes to ritual work and other people doing it for you, destructive work, right? You must proceed forward with knowledge and caution. Okay? Now I say that because, as you know, I don't like to promote this path with that whole scaredy cat mentality, or that whole be frightened or afraid, because no, I don't want to promote this path like that, especially if you are supposed to, or your desire, and you're really a sincere seeker that wants to be on this path. I don't ever want to promote it like that, but at the same token, there's things you need to be aware of. I'm not going to pretend like some of these dangers or some of these things that you need to be very knowledgeable of and aware that you need to be aware of, okay? So I don't want to act like that doesn't exist, because it does exist, okay? It exists, it's real, okay? And we want to make sure 150%, we want to make sure that when we are stepping into the spectrum of working with this type of work or energy, that we're psychologically prepared for it, right? Now, this is why you always hear me say over the years, it's importance of being in sound mind, which equals sound body, but important to be in sound mind, because, especially in regards to something like this. So, as I've said, if you're not, maybe you're dealing with, you could be dealing with certain psychological problems. It could be psychosis, personality disorders, depression, anxiety, right? And you might be tapping in and working with certain energy that you are just not in a mental or even a medical state, right, to deal with. And this is why when I used the term earlier in the video, opening Pandora's box, which is just a term I'm using to describe how chaotic it could get, right? Because I've seen the flip side of both. I've seen where you have spiritualists that do work, it could be a very uplifting, successful, and positive experience, but I've also seen the flip side to that. I've seen people where they were never the same after that. Okay? So you can't just let anybody do work on you, right? And you can't just go to work and do destructive work on something or somebody, because sometimes too, which is a factor, a very isolated factor that's not talked about a lot, sometimes people are not very knowledgeable of their target. Okay? What do I mean by that? You can be using your spiritual practice to attack somebody, and they might be skilled or a master in that particular art. So knowing your target before you even do any type of work like that is critical and key. Because you might send something out to the wrong target, and they might totally become aware of it and send it right back to you, even worse. Okay? I'm just telling you, this stuff is real. You don't have to accept it or not. I couldn't care. I'm telling you, this is real. I've seen it. I've experienced it as far as not me doing anything to somebody and coming back, but I've seen and experienced people around me doing shit that they probably shouldn't be doing. Okay? My other take on this is, I want to address another aspect. As a person that's always doing destructive magic or protection magic, or they're always engulfed in some battle or war with something or somebody, that's a red flag too, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay? If most of your time is spent doing protection magic and destructive magic, right? There's something's wrong with you. That's off. You shouldn't be doing that all the time. And unfortunately, on this journey over the years, I've known many people, and it seems like those people in that category, that's all they do. That's not a good thing. If that's what's going on with you constantly all the time, then something's not right with your vibrational frequency. Something's not right with your energy, your spirit. It's off. You know, now I'm talking about the person who always thinks that there's somebody doing something to them. There's always somebody who believes somebody did them wrong. There's, that person that feels like they got to launch spiritual attacks on this, that, and the other because they believe, and maybe sometimes it is true, but most of the time I find it's not, that their whole life is engulfed in doing protection and destructive magic. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to get to you to see, the overall picture of that protection and destructive magic. Protection in the sense is if you're doing any type of work to keep your frequency in alignment, whether that's spiritual cleansings, to remove something, not just protection in the sense of being frightened or scared or something. That's not really what spiritual protection is. So I'm categorizing because a lot of work that people do, whether they're doing it themselves or they're having others do it for them, is usually in that category, is what I'm saying. Okay? So if you're a person that's all you're doing all the time, and it's sad because I can think of a handful of people I know over the years that it seems like every time I talk to them, they had some ritual work on something or somebody. And I'm like, and I'm saying to my mom, well, damn, how much fucked up energy are you tangled with? Now, let me throw this out there too. Sometimes people are just fucking paranoid. Let's keep it 100% here. Sometimes you got people who have just convinced themselves that there's people constantly trying to do shit to them and launch attacks on them. Because when paranoia sets in, then you don't have the ability to decipher between what's real or what's an illusion. And here's the thing you guys got to understand about that. That's a perfect prime target to work on somebody when they're in an unstable state of mind like that, confused and paranoid. That is a ripe target to do spiritual work on somebody like that. That's what I mean, where you must be careful and cautious. Now, I can usually have a consultation with somebody and thoroughly interview them, and I can pretty much tell right after that if this is something that they've created in their mind. And I can't tell you how many clients have reached out to me over the last many years where after doing a thorough consultation with them, I found out this is all in this person's head. Because if you contact me and reach out for that, this is why I say I'm selective and I'm going to ask you a million questions. I'm going to put you through a thorough, if you want to call it interrogation, but not in a bad way. I got to interrogate you because I got to make sure this is not some shit you're just, convincing yourself of in your mind. Right? So it's very easy to decipher that, but sometimes an individual who's trapped under that illusion, sometimes they need somebody else to kind of get them to see that. Right? So you don't want to be in any one of those last two aforementioned categories. Right? Where you're paranoid and you think somebody's always doing something to you, or you're constantly working protective or destructive magic. Where your more important focus is to master yourself, to live a very productive and successful life, to achieve your goals, your desires, whatever the life plan you laid out for yourself, all your goals of success, that's the thing that you should be focusing on in the majority of the time. Now, I'm not saying situations don't arise where you have to do that type of work, destructive magic. I'm not saying that don't happen. What I am saying is it shouldn't be happening all the fucking time. I am saying that. Okay? Because, again, that's a red flag. I'm sorry. It's a red flag. And then I find this, and last thing I want to touch on this, I also find this, that sometimes people won't be honest with themselves, or if they're talking to me, they won't be honest. They'll play the role of victim. And there is cases where somebody is doing something to somebody, right? But the person that is whatever's being done, or the person that's being so-called attacked, sometimes plays the role like they're an innocent victim, like they didn't do anything, like they didn't play no role in it, like they didn't have no responsibility in it. And then when you dig and you find out further, you find out they're not telling you the full truth. And then that can backfire in a really bad way for that person. Okay? So, in the realm and spectrum of protective and destructive magic, when you have people doing work for you, people laying hands on you, doing cleansings, touching your head, especially your crown center, and just laying, no, that's something you must be very selective. Okay? There's many things that you must consider before you even attempt to go to a level on that route. It amazes me how people will just go to people who they barely know, and they will allow them to do work like that. Remember, I said many times over the years, you have to protect your sacred energy. If I've said over the years, even your sexual partner must be very compatible with you on an energy and a frequency level. It's the same thing, because you're exchanging sexual energy via bodily fluids, which literally you're intaking a part of that person's DNA and RNA, which is going to alter your vibrational energy and frequency. Very similar, but taken it to a more detailed level, for lack of a better word. So all I'm asking you is to consider these things when you are looking in this area of magic, the occult, left-hand path, these type of practices. It exists, and my goal with this short tutorial / video is to just give you some insight, some awareness, some knowledge to get you to think smart and make intelligent choices and decisions that are most beneficial for you long term. All right? Outside of that, that's all I really got for you. Again, if you need to reach out to me for a yearly forecast reading or any other type of reading or consultation, remember my contact email address, along with the direct link to the Primordial Chaos podcast, along with the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti tier 3. All of that information to contact me, classes and everything, is right in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. All right? Outside of that, that's all I got for you. I'll see you guys on the next video. Infernal blessings, and we will talk soon.